We acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Episwak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the October 17th, 2023 organizational meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
Motion to adopt the organizational agenda.
Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the 2023-2024 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting schedule as set out in Attachment 1? Go ahead, Councillor Beyer.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Beyer. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that council cancel the January 9th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting and schedule a regular council meeting on January 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Edson Civic Center? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the 2023-2024 council boards and committee appointments as set out in Attachment 1? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that the meeting move into a closed session to discuss public at-large member appointments to the Library Board pursuant to Section 17, 19, and 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act? Go ahead, Councillor Butt.
I'll move into closed session.
Thank you very much. Any questions, council? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for bearing with us as we went through that. Can I get a motion, please, that council appoints the following Edson Public Library Board members with terms commencing immediately and expiring October 19th, 2026, that being Sheila Buckle and Robin Corser? Go ahead, Councillor Beyer.
I so move.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. We don't need a motion for that. Yeah. Can I get a motion, please, for the appointment of the deputy mayor? You'll see in your council agenda package motion that is outlined there from administration. As I mentioned in strategic planning, I would like to change how we handle the deputy mayor. I would like a deputy mayor appointed for the year. So I certainly would entertain a motion to that effect as well, based on my recommended motion, and this is not the one in your agenda package, is that council appoint the deputy mayor based on majority vote through secret ballot of all council members that are interested. And we will go to Councillor Chouinard.
Okay, I'll make the motion that the council rotates deputy mayor every 4 months. Or each councillor confirmed as laid out in the 2025. But if possible, I would like to make a friendly amendment. Any members not wishing to do the rotation could be discussed that we could extend the others for an additional time. Well, no, but I'm making that, but I'm looking for a friendly one, just a comment.
Well, you have to, Councillor.
I'm making the motion we do every 4 months between rotation.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor that council rotate the position of deputy mayor every 4 months between each of the councillors and confirm the 2021-2025 rotation schedule as set out in Attachment 2. Anybody want to talk about that motion? Anybody have any comments or questions about that? Go ahead, Councillor Beyer.
Thanks. Through the chair to the rest of the council. I know, so if we defeat this motion. I understand what the next motion might be, but I don't know of anybody that's actually interested in it yet. So I don't know when it's appropriate to talk about if someone's interested in that role, because if we defeat this one and then entertain the next one and there's nobody interested, I'm not sure procedurally how we continue. So I'm just looking for clarity on when is the right time to have the discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. So we have a motion on the floor dealing with the current kind of policy of how we've been doing this over the last little while. So we wouldn't know that until we go to the next motion. So I'm not sure if anybody is interested in being the deputy mayor for a year or not. Nobody has really indicated to me, but so does anybody have interest in being deputy mayor for a year? Councillor Moore? Councillor Byer, do you have any interest? No? Okay, well, this is, all right, so maybe we will be keeping the schedule as we see it here. So, any other comments or questions? Sure, go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. We're looking at a 4-month, which we've been on for a long time, and it was brought to us from administration that it's hard to know who's the deputy mayor because we're changing so frequently. Maybe if nobody wants to be a mayor, the deputy mayor on an annual basis, then maybe we should at least look at the 8th month. So I'm going to be speaking or voting against this motion, and I'd be willing to put a motion after that towards an 8th month term. And then you don't have, it's a little bit longer, and then you don't have that changing every 4 months and staff going, who's the deputy mayor? So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pasichny. Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor, just a comment to Councillor Pasichny's, that means only, if we do 8 months, only 3 councillors, because we're already halfway through our term, so it would be the first 3 on the list, which I would not be against because I'm in the 3, but if we were to do that, it would be something we'd have to propose next time because we've already done a 4 months, so 8 months would leave out people that may want to be in the 4 months.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. I think what would end up happening is towards the 8th month, then council would choose who the next one would be. Wouldn't necessarily be following the same rotation that we have currently. So that would allow for only those interested to maybe step forward. So go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will be voting against this motion, same as Councillor Pasichny was. I don't mind going the 8 months in that if we want to go there. We do stay with 4 months here. I would request that I be taken off the rotation. That way would help out everybody else. I've done it long enough now. I don't need to do it anymore. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Bevan. I'm certainly in favor of 8th month. I have concerns that we are rotating and people don't know who the deputy mayor is. And it's hard to, because we rotate so frequently, to keep people updated on current files. So I will be voting against this motion as well, but would entertain one for an 8-month period. All right. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is defeated. All right, Councillor Pasichny, do you want to make a secondary motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we change our rotation to an 8-month schedule. If you want me to further that to,
Who we should appoint?
yeah, the appointments, do you want to follow the same schedule?
That's up to you. It's your motion.
That's a great idea. Let me look at that. Yeah,
So that would be Councillor Byer for 8 months.
yeah. So we will, I move that we move to an 8-month rotation, following the same rotation and giving councillors the option to opt out.
Okay. So, I guess the question is, Councillor Byer, do you want to do an 8-month rotation? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
I do not currently at this time want to do an 8-month rotation.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chenard.
Yes, if we can't do the other one, I will be willing to do the 8-month or even your year one. I'm not against being deputy mayor. I was giving everyone an opportunity. If you want to do an 8-month or a year, I'd be willing to put my name forward.
All right, thank you, Councillor Chenard. You are, as Councillor Bevan has indicated, he's not interested. Councillor Chenard, you're next on the list, so we will do that. So, Councillor Chenard, for an 8-month term, do you want to amend your motion, Councillor Pisichny? Yeah, I'll accept the amendment. Okay. Is that clear to you, Amanda? All right, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to the rest of the members of council. So when the 8-month term is up, how are we deciding? Are we deciding at that time? Because our next organizational meeting won't be until 12 months from now.
That would be what would happen. It would be probably a month prior to us to decide who's going to be for the next term. Okay. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? All those opposed? Councillor Moore, are you in favor or are you opposed? In favor? Okay. So I'm going to call the question again. Please indicate clearly, are you in favor or are you opposed? All those in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried unanimously. That was easy. And can I get a motion, please, that the meeting be adjourned? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Motion for adjournment.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. All those in favor? Motion carried. And we will move on to our next meeting. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the October 17th, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted as amended with a change to item, Mr. Ham.
Sir, that is RFD 2, the 2024 Fortis franchise fee.
Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Hamlin? And Councillor Chenard, do you want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, yes.
Okay. Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Hamlin?
Sir, there was a transpositional error, and that affected the motion, and so it was a substantive correction, and we had to redo the RFD here today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hamlin. So you'll have the revised report in front of you. Amanda handed that out earlier. So do you have any questions, comments, or concerns on the amendment or the agenda? Councillor Chenard?
Motion to adopt the agenda with the amendment.
Yeah, you already made that motion. It's on the floor.
I hadn't met. That's why I was correct.
Yes, you have. Yes, you did. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the October 3rd, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
I move the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. We have no public hearings, no delegations, no reading of bylaws. Can I get a motion that council set the public auction date for recovery of unpaid property taxes as January 17th, 2024? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
I would like to make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. And we have Tricia Papke here, our accounting supervisor, to speak to us this evening on this item. Go ahead, Tricia.
Good evening. So annually, administration, we prepare tax arrears listings and place liens on, liens against the those properties on this list. These listings were sent to Alberta Land Titles and Registries on March 31st of last year, with 1 year for those properties to pay off all of their arrears. Any accounts now that remain on these lists that still have arrears outstanding are to be taken to tax sale for recovery of these unpaid taxes. So administration would like to set the date for public auction to be January 17th of 2024.
All right, thank you very much for that, Ms. Papke. Council, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion, please, that council reduce the 2024 Fortis franchise fee rate from 4.91% to 4.7%? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I'd move that we move from 4.91 to 4.7.
All right, thank you. And we have Mr. Hanlon who will present on this evening. Go ahead, Mr. Hanlon.
Thank you, sir. Through you to the balance of council. Under Policy FB2, the franchise fee revenue policy, annually the town of Edson looks at its Fortis and ATCO franchise fees, and we seek to adjust for inflation year upon year once the utility providers have confirmed the upcoming year's rates. Those just came into us recently from, in this case, Fortis, and when adjusted for a year-over-year rate of 2.8% inflation, we see the ability, as electric rates are projected to fall in the coming year, to reduce the franchise fee collected by Fortis from 4.91% to 4.7%. And administration is supportive of the recommendation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hanlon, for that. Council, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve reallocating $150,000 from the 2023 capital road repairs budget to procure tree removal and detailed design for the construction of a new light industrial rural road, Township Road 532, between 54th Street to Wilmore Park Road? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. And we have Mr. Kitlitz, our General Manager of Infrastructure and Planning, joining us this evening. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. You can hear me just fine?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a couple of materials that I'd like to just share on the screen here as I support the motion for this particular RFD. So just bear with me and I'll share my screen. And is that showing up for you folks there?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Clayton.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so before just to set a little bit of context, Mr. Mayor and Council, this wasn't part of the report, but just to give a little bit of a planning context for this area, as Council is aware, the area where we're proposing this new road has been designated as an industrial area for quite some time. The graphic here is the future land use concept map for the town's municipal development plan, which was adopted in 2015. But what I wanted to make a note of is that you'll note these arrows, black arrows they're depicted here on this particular map. That represents a conceptual future alternative industrial road access to this area. Now, it's important to understand that municipal development plans aren't a detailed plan. They're usually a long-term planning document that municipalities use to plan lands for future growth. And through other planning tools such as area structure plans, details are vetted out to determine how things will be developed. But what I wanted to draw attention to is that it's been quite some time ago that it was contemplated that this area may see some sort of development of a road along the road allowance for Township Road 532. Drilling down into the specific area, so a couple things to make note of is this is somewhat related to the pivotal development that's recognized on this particular map by the blue area here, but it's also bigger than that. When we talk about the proposal to build a road at Township Road 532 from 54th Street to Wilmore Park Road. But we'll start with the pivotal development and what the implications are there, and then I'll talk a bit more about the other pros and cons to this particular proposal. So as a condition of the pivotal development, for I guess it was their stripping and grading permit, the initial permit they applied for site development. A condition that was required was that they provide a temporary emergency access and egress to the satisfaction of the development authority. The green line that's represented on this particular graphic here represents a potential for that temporary emergency access egress to happen through the CN rail yard lands. Now, historically, it's my understanding that the Town of Edson Fire Department has had a verbal arrangement with the operational unit of CN to use this particular area in the event that the rail crossings are blocked for emergency vehicles to get in and out of this south area of town. Excuse me for a second. And that verbal arrangement still exists today. Through Pivotal's exercising that condition, they approached CN to try to get a written confirmation of this particular temporary access. They were unable to detain that. CN wasn't willing to provide that temporary emergency access and egress in writing. And they had pretty good reasons for doing so. It's important to note this is not a road allowance. It's not dedicated to be a road allowance. This is the operational lands of CN. And although they're willing to, where possible, provide that access and egress, they can't guarantee it 365 days a year, 24/7. For obvious reasons, this is an operational yard, and they're running a business off this particular piece of land, and they may not always be able to provide that a certain certainty of access. So that wasn't going to meet the condition of the development permit to the satisfaction of the development authority. So the other option that Pivotal had was to look at this utility right-of-way, which is identified by this yellow line, dash line here. Now, this is an existing utility right-of-way under the town's name that has a sanitary sewer trunk in it. We did do some research to ensure that line was deep enough to build a road over. However, this would be a temporary solution for emergency access and egress. Again, this isn't a dedicated road allowance. This is a utility right-of-way. It was never planned to be a road, but it certainly was an option that Pivotal could have exercised for a temporary option to meet the condition of the development permit. The reason there's two sort of dashed lines here is because this is the access to that right-of-way off of 54th Street. However, as council can see, it's also encumbered by a railway crossing. Now, this isn't a main line, it's a spur, but still there's a rail crossing there that does provide some encumbrance to that temporary emergency access and egress. The other option for that temporary could be potentially coming through the Pivotal operational site and accessing that right away further to the east to get out to Golf Course Road. This would be a temporary solution. The Pivotal would have to construct, which essentially be a throwaway cost at some point in time. Alternate permanent access and egress would need to be provided to this area. And these costs to build this temporary road would be a throwaway for Pivotal, which is certainly something that they may have to do if there's no other option available to them. So in that, one of the things that the administration brought forward to Pivotal as a consideration was the option to consider building a permanent industrial road into this area between Wilmore Park Road and 54th Street, which is identified by the red line here. Now, it's important to note as and also identified by number 3 here is a private residence within the Yellowton County. Council is also aware that there's a bridge crossing across Bench Creek in this location right here. Having only one access in this area is problematic. Obviously, if there's for some reason that road becomes impassable, for whatever reason, there's particular properties that are inaccessible. So from just a pure planning perspective, it's good to have more than one access into any part of the developed area of any municipality. So this potential option provides us the opportunity to not only address emergency access and egress, but also just a secondary access to these important business functions of the community. But before I move to the next slide, Council, I just wanted to pause here to see if there's any questions about this graphic or any questions about these access and egress points.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, do you have any questions so far on Mr. Kitlitz's presentation? I don't see any, Mr. Kitlitz, so you can continue on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to briefly go over the pros and cons, I guess, as administration sees it. Obviously, there's more than one option. There's the option to go east on Township Road 532, but there's some encumbrance there that would delay, I guess, this particular option. We see this as sort of the quickest option to deal with this particular situation and continue to support the development of the pivotal site. So again, the pros specifically are satisfies the development permit condition for Pivotal to operate their new facility, that being establishing temporary emergency access and egress to the area. The one note I want to make about that is if council does support the development of this secondary road into the area, the verbal commitment with CN still exists. They maintain that they'll do whatever they can to support emergency operations. Again, they can't guarantee they'll always be access, but certainly they're open to providing that verbal commitment to provide that optional route in and out of the area. So that's a positive. Brings me to point number 2. It secures both the second access egress into this area for both emergency purposes and to ensure the uninterrupted operations of the town landfill and the private businesses that are on 50 Store Street, should that road become accessible for any reason. Number 3, it opens up vacant lands adjacent to the proposed new future road for industrial development. It provides a fire break or guard between an existing tree stand that exists there today. Part of the town's long-term plans has a force main, sanitary force main, that's supposed to go somewhere in this south area. Having that road allowance there provides an opportunity to place that force main in the north side or south side of that ditch at some point in the future. There are funds available, as the motion illustrates, are asked for in the 2023 Capital Road Repair Fund that can be used to do some of this preliminary work this fall to prepare for a potential 2024 spring construction. And then also, as part of this package, you'll note attachment number 2, I believe, is a letter from Pivotal agreeing to reallocate the funds that they would have spent on a temporary road or access road to this permanent recommended option. From Pivotal's standpoint, I think they'd much rather allocate funds to something more permanent than throw away costs to a temporary access, which makes sense. The noted cons for this particular proposal are, again, it's not a currently planned project. As council is aware, this doesn't exist in our 2023 or 2024 capital plan at the moment. The town will have to front the cost to build this road, but there is the opportunity to collect some of those funds back through charge against the lands that are benefiting from this road, and as well the aforementioned contribution potentially from Pivotal. And obviously it's understood by administration that this isn't the ultimate solution for this area. It does provide options and relief though. As council is aware, the Wilmore Park Road is still encumbered by the CN rail line going west, even though there is actually the opportunity to go around to the Ansel Tower Road, I believe. But certainly the rail line still exists going west, and that's still an encumbrance. So with that, I guess I just wanted to close by saying that administration supports and thinks this is a good idea for all kinds of reasons. And again, not that it's the ultimate. I think there's still opportunity for the town to engage Elway County to consider going east on Township Road 532, but to support the Pivotal development and get something done sooner than later, we see this as the path of least resistance. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
All right, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, we will open the floor and go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz. Part of the $150,000 talks about the removal of the trees. Is that the entire quarter south? So would it be a substantial break, or is that just like a road allowance amount of trees removed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Pasichny, I think our plan would be to take the full road allowance plus a little bit more, but it would not be the entire area. I'm sorry, this is kind of blocked off by this polygon here, but this is all treed in here. The landfill is sort of in this area. and then this is a treed area fully. But the plan would be just to take a pretty big swath. I suggest it be a little bit wider than road allowance, but because it's our land, but not much more.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, any other comments or questions regarding this? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Clayton Kitlitz, the trees that are on there, I have an opportunity to explore it. Is there any value to those trees? So with the price of trees, so we're a cost of 150, if we could get someone to come in and possibly log it all since it's ours and get rid of the trees at virtually zero cost or nil cost?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chenard. Yeah, we actually did do a little bit of investigation into this, and we weren't able to find a local tree removal provider that saw value in those trees. So we could certainly pursue that more. We just did a little bit of tire kicking initially, but if council supports the motion, we can certainly explore that a bit more. But our first initial ask, we didn't find any takers for that.
Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz, was there a time a few years ago where if there was some kind of an emergency that CN could separate their train to let emergency vehicles through? Well, I know if it's a continuous train and it keeps on going, then of course that doesn't apply, but if it's stopped, would that be possible?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Moore. So after Pivotal didn't have any success getting written confirmation from CN, I actually phoned and tried to speak to the operational manager there. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but we had a good discussion, and he did confirm to me that they do have operational procedures in place where if called upon by our fire department, they will attempt to split a train as fast as possible. So they're certainly cognizant of the situation south of the tracks. And they're more than willing to do what they can to assist. But again, they just can't guarantee that they're going to be able to provide unfettered, timely access into the area, given the fact that their operations are running in the area. So, but to answer your question, yes, they do have operational procedures to do that, split a train if they can and have to.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz. So just a question for clarity. So that utility right-of-way, it would not support a regular road for regular use? Just a temporary access?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Byer. So I guess what I'm saying is we haven't done the engineering to determine whether that would support a permanent road. What we did do is check the depth of the sanitary pipe to make sure it was deep enough. So that any sort of movement across that right of way wouldn't damage that underground infrastructure. So it's deep enough, but in terms of putting a permanent road structure there, we haven't done that analysis. I think, as I mentioned in the presentation, this was never planned to be a road. That was an option that council wanted to consider. We'd have to do a little more work to determine whether that was capable of having a permanent road.
Thank you. C.L. Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Clayton, I'm wondering if you would be able to provide some information with regards to the fact that it's a utility right-of-way, not a road right-of-way, and what would be required there. Because essentially, we don't have the authority to be placing roads, permanent roads, on our utility right-of-ways, from my understanding.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess I don't want to say that we don't have the authority to do that. I think at the end of the day, if that's something that the town believes is an appropriate place to put a road allowance, you can certainly go through that. Typically, road allowances are dedicated through a subdivision process, in my experience. But I guess again, this was designed and initially put in place for a utility right of way, not a road allowance. So I think our preference, and that's why the recommendation for administration is to go down the township road 532, is because that's always been dedicated as a road allowance. And as I noted previously, the municipal development plan identifies that as potentially for future alternate access into this area. So from my perspective, it's probably the route we want to go, as opposed to pushing or pursuing a utility right away. In this case.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz, I'm still stuck on the trees. Has any work been done to figure out what the cost would be to remove the trees to the end of the property line to create a significant fire break?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Chief, no, we haven't done that, but certainly, if it's a will of council, we can certainly, pursue that. I think at this point in time, it's for the road allowance itself, but, certainly, that's the will, we can certainly, work towards that as well and get a quote for that.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Councillor Bevan.
Through the mayor to Mr. Kidless here, on that utility right away, it runs right beside my property there. But there also is yellowhead gas that comes out that end, and it does hit our utility right away right there. And it goes right out across to the golf course road and that. So we'd have to talk to them because it goes right through my field, comes out right there. And also if you walk back there, it is kind of sloughy back there. And way back when, that used to be where CN stopped to load their trains up with coal. So there's a really big coal seam back there too in that. And there's also a pond back there, because I know when I put my culverts in, I had to put a big culvert in to drain that pond, and it is not a very good thing out there. The other way going is maybe not the best way to go, but I mean, if God forbid, if we ever had an accident out there and somebody was to perish on us and we did not have a road allowance going out of there, I couldn't have that on my head for sure at all. So, I mean, I'm all for all options, but it looks like it should go the other way.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Councillor Barr.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Kitlitz, you mentioned in your other chart there about utilities possibly going out, you know, if we had them out there, they'd be on the north side or along the red line there, the one you have listed. Would that make, if we were to bring services to the proposed road allowance road, that emergency access route, would that mean that those services would also be accessible to the current landowners that are out there?
Mr. Mayor to Councilor Byers, so the proposed sanitary pipe that's supposed to go along this area somewhere on the south side of town is meant to be a force main. So typically you don't tie services in the force mains. They're more to convey the wastewater. These lands are planned for industrial development, and not necessarily typically a lot of industrial development has on-site servicing. So we'd have to look at, I have to be honest, I didn't look into the future servicing plans for this area, but certainly with the road allowance there that's developed in the ditches, if it's something that council wants to pursue and plan for, we can look into servicing the area. But at this point, that planned sanitary is a force main.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Clayton. Yeah, this study we're going to do will that give us a test to not only make it a temporary road, but we can get a cost to make it a permanent road, because I see value if we make a temporary road over a sewer line. To me, that's a waste of money, but I would be very curious to see to make it into a permanent road so we have two accesses into it. So it would be advantage to businesses and et cetera. You can, instead of coming through over the tracks, both you got to cross tracks, but it may have great value in the future of being a permanent road coming out on Wilmore.
So through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Chenard, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So the proposal for this red line here for along Township Road 532, our recommendation is to build a permanent industrial rural road here, not a temporary. The yellow line here is proposed to be temporary. And if you're suggesting that this potentially becomes a permanent road as well, I think our recommendation would be to not do that. I think a better course of action would be to work with Yellowhead County and the landowners here to pursue an east link of 532 down to here. I just don't think this was never planned to be an intersection for traffic. I think it's much better to follow the quarter section line and come out at this area would be my recommendation. So, but this certainly is proposed for a permanent road, not a temporary road.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Councillor Chenard.
Just wanted to clarify what I was against doing the temporary over the sewer lines. I was more curious if that was the cost to make that road a permanent road, and you answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Council, any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration. The bridge there that's on 54th Street, I know last term it was regular that it needed a little bit of maintenance here and there, and I believe it did suffer some more damage during the floods. Can we get an update on the condition of the bridge, and can it accommodate larger trucks with regular usage on it if that proposed road is built?
Would you like to speak to that, Mr. Kitlitz?
Yeah, so just for clarity, Mr. Mayor, are you referring to, whoops, I lost my mouse here. So is this a bridge you're referring to, Councillor Byer?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. So I don't have the specs on that particular bridge, but at present, it takes loads over for our landfill. So it's certainly rated for the loads that are going over it. In terms of the condition of the bridge, so in 2018, we did have all of our bridges assessed. There was an assessment report done on that bridge. And I think in the RFD, it quotes that, the lifespan of that bridge is out to 2040 for replacement. The caveat on that is that's the expected life of that bridge if it's maintained and to high standards and nothing else goes wrong. As council is aware, the last two years we've had some flooding, and in both instances there was some washout in that particular structure. We have had ISL come in and do assessments of all the infrastructure that was damaged during June of this year flooding. Unfortunately, I don't have that final report yet, so I don't know exactly the extent of the current damage to that bridge and what repairs are needed to extend the life as long as possible. But I think the point that administration is trying to make is that there is one area, there's one access into this area, and it does have a bridge. And for some reason, that bridge is encumbered in any way. We are blocking off access to, I think, 3 or 4 businesses, including a landfill and a residential property, and that's just not ideal. So if that answers your question.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns on this item? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, through the chair to Caden, it's, if for some reason we were to go the other way, we would probably have a bigger headache there because we have 2 RV parks there, the golf course, Sand Source is there. They have anywhere from 20 to 25 B trains on that road just about daily. And when they pull up to the intersection on Highway 16, I've waited there for just about an hour myself to get across. I have seen numerous trucks just about get hit to try to get across. I do not think the province is going to put another set of lights there for us. That would become a big hazard. And if all the trucks coming out of Pivotal were there, I don't see that road holding up much longer than that. And you can count on them trucks being lined up from the 9th fairway all the way into their yard or all the way back out to Highway 16 here. It would be just a congestion there that you'd have more headaches from more people than anything else at all.
So, Mr. Mayor, could I just address that a little?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Gitlitz.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what I wanted to mention is I think ultimately, as I mentioned, this isn't the ultimate solution in the silver bullet to address the future development of this area. I think extending 532 East is probably a future option that we need to continue to work on and plan with Yellowhead County. And I would agree, Councillor Bevan, that it's going to take a lot more planning and analysis in terms of traffic and volumes and what kind of road and intersection upgrades may be needed. The one thing I wanted to also draw attention to is the Pivotal Development is proposing, if I'm going from memory here, but I think it was 20 trips a day in their current production as they start out. Their TIA that they submitted to support our development, it actually didn't even warrant any intersection improvements at 54th and Highway 2. The volume didn't warrant intersection improvements. So having another access into this area, I think splits the traffic and actually helps. We're not expecting to see more volume into the area than there is today or what's being proposed by Pivotal. It just provides another access and egress. So it actually conceivably can split the traffic. So I just wanted to mention that as well, Mr. Mayor.
I think you mentioned Highway 2. I think you meant Highway 16.
Oh, sorry, did I say
Yeah.
Highway 2?
Second Avenue,
What I wanted to
yes.
say. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, sorry, my apologies.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Positioning.
I think through the mayor to council, I think when we look at this project, if it wasn't for Pivotal, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We wouldn't be talking about a road. We wouldn't be talking about spending money on any kind of access into that area. Ideally, and I know 80% of the people, or if not all the people in the room here today, are here because they don't like the idea. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't free up an access to the rails to prevent people from being blocked behind trains. But I think if we look at the bigger picture from a grandiose future, and rewind the clock a bit, in the county quite a few years ago, with pressure from their residents from the Tollerton areas and the Wilmore Park areas and the Ansel Tower areas, were pressuring the county to build a road to connect Wilmore to the golf course road so that they have emergency access. They never would have looked at this road allowance because I can guarantee you, without the project that's being proposed, we would never come to the table to build our half of the road. So as a municipality, ideally, most people like the road to go to the east through the county. I know with just half this road going to the east, the county won't support it because it would their residents on Golf Course Road wouldn't support it. But I think if you look at it from a bigger picture, if we had an entire road through there, we would have a much better plan for the entire region. It would benefit all the people south of the tracks, no matter where you live. But it would never happen, and we can't. For us to spend the money going to the east would be problematic with our neighbors who would be against it. And by us going to the west, it does give us a second access. It does help us with the bridge if there's an issue. It's a permanent solution on a real road allowance and not a temporary solution. And if we were to something, God forbid, happen to that bridge, we still have access to those residents, all still have access to get out. Granted, yes, there's still a train. But I also think that by opening up half of it, our neighbors may have pressure from the residents servicing the entire area to the south that may push the county to do a section of that. So I can't speak to what the county's plans are, or if they would ever entertain that. But at the end of the day, we'd be a lot further ahead if we were to do our half of it. And I'm a little disappointed. I thought that our dollar amount was including the entire trees, and I'd really. A road allowance is not enough if you consider the size of the fires, and I would definitely like to see us, I don't know if we need to amend it or not, but to have enough money to clear all of that quarter section so we have another field. It was a field that saved us last time, and it would be a field that would save us again. So I think a significant fire break is more important than just a road break. Also would be investing money in a road that would allow our residents to subdivide and have access to the road too. So it's tough, and I understand we've had lots of phone calls on it and letters, and we understand everybody's position on it. But at the end of the day, I think the town of Edson, it's vitally important that we have another taxpayer to help us, and that's a large taxpayer. So I think it's important for us to show support to them and support to our community. And I know it's not the most ideal thing, but I think we need to get going with something. And at the end of the day, if the prices come back absolutely ridiculous, we may be back at the table again. So I know it's going to be expensive. So.
Thank you, Councillor Position. I think on your second point there regarding the trees, I think you could do a secondary motion to ask administration to bring back full costing to remove the trees for a wider area.
Motion, or you want me to just amend this one?
Why don't we just do a second motion on that particular issue? Okay, yeah, sounds good. Council, any other further questions, comments, or concerns? So I haven't had a chance to speak about this yet. Since I've been mayor in 2018, I've had a lot of residents contact me on that side of the tracks, concerned about access, particularly for emergencies. We've had a lot of issues with, of course, the CN rail yard being there, with trains blocking the tracks, and there's no other way to get out. With Pivotal coming to our community, it's a huge opportunity. This is the biggest development that this community's seen since Weyerhaeuser has been built. And it's going to be a major taxpayer, a major source of employment and supporting our natural gas industry. I don't think anybody's really against the pivotal project. I think there has been concerns over the safety and the access into that area. Many years ago, the council of the day put forward a complaint to Transport Canada regarding the rail crossing at Landfill Road and the amount of times that Landfill Road crossing has been blocked, as well as Wilmore Park Road. And at that time, CN was doing most of their crew changes at the CN rail yard, which was leading to major delays at Landfill Road. CN came to us, met with us at the request of Transport Canada to resolve the issue, and they started doing their crew changes between Ansel Tower Road and Wilmore Crossing Road. Their trains fit perfectly between those two crossings. And so that change happened a few years ago. That's not to say that Landfill Road doesn't get blocked, because it certainly does, but it has decreased. The likelihood of all three crossings being blocked at the same time, it can happen, but it's not the same train. There are multiple trains if that does happen. The average train length for CN is 7,000 feet. They do go up to 14,000 feet. However, the distance between Landfill Road and Ansel Tower Crossing is about 16,000 feet. So those trains, even the longest ones, will not block all three crossings. I certainly want to see us going east as well as west. I think that it is a better opportunity for the safety of all residents and ease of access for people to be able to access from Landfill Road, either Wilmore Park or Golf Course Road. The challenge that we have is that we do not own all the land to the Golf Course Road. Part of that is in our neighbor's jurisdiction, which we have no authority, as well as I know that there's going to be residents on Golf Course Road that don't want to see increased traffic. What is being proposed here today for a permanent road, not a temporary one, a permanent road, is on a road allowance within the town of Edson boundaries, connecting to a town of Edson section of Wilmore Park Road. Without this, Pivotal cannot start operations. They need an access, and this is one way in which we can get an access, a secondary access into that area that will be permanent, that will be long-serving for our community. That does not stop us from continuing to pursue discussions with our partners at looking at a access to the east to Golf Course Road, which I think would be also ideal. So I will be supporting this motion. I do think that we learned a lot this spring about fire breaks and the treat areas, and how lucky we were that we had some fields there and a pond that helped slow that fire down and stop it from entering our community. So I think we can hit two birds with one stone by creating a fire break in that area as well. I know not everybody's going to be happy with it, certainly not. But at the end of the day, we have to make decisions for the community as a whole. And I've always been about economic growth and trying to build that capacity, and we are seeing an opportunity here, and an opportunity for those lands to be subdivided and developed in the future as well. So I will be in support of this motion. I also have chatted with my colleague over the county about this, about how we would like to have a look at continuing the road to the east, and I look forward to continuing those discussions, but that's not going to happen overnight, and we do need to get something going here in order for Pivotal to be operational. So that's my 2 cents. With that, is there anybody else that has any comments or questions on this before we vote on it? All right, so I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I'd like to further move that we instruct administration to come back with progress to give us a total dollar amount for removing all the trees to the south of the boundary for a larger fire break.
All right. Thank you. Amanda, did you get all that? Okay. Thank you. Council, any questions, comments, or concerns about that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the proposed engagement materials for the third and final round of engagement in support of the land use bylaw rewrite project? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. And can I get, I think, Mr. Kitlitz, are you presenting on that this evening? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'll just introduce the item here, and then I'll pass it off to our consultants with Urban, who will take you through the details. But Mr. Mayor, this is in support of the third round of engagement for our proposed land use bylaw rewrite. We got a little delayed over the summer this year, so we're a bit behind schedule. But all in all, things are progressing, and we're quite happy with where the document is going. The materials that Urban are going to present tonight are just we're looking for council to support these engagement materials that we're probably not going to run right away, but probably towards the end of November. So with that, I'll let Becky and Alex introduce themselves and then go through the presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Kitlitz. Good evening, Council. It's been a while. It's nice to join everyone this evening and touch base back on this project. I'll ask my colleague Alex to share screen. We have a brief presentation for you today, and we'll run through the engagement materials that we've produced for this round of engagement. But I think we want to start off by maybe giving a bit of a refresher on the project itself. And there we go, perfect. So yeah, this is also Alex. So he would be a new face, but he's been very pivotal in the production of this new land use bylaw draft. And he's been working with us on these engagement materials. So he's going to run us through those today a bit later on. So as an overview for the presentation itself, we'll start with a refresher on the guiding principles. These are the principles that were set at the beginning of the process. And the importance of having that refresher is that these were sort of the framework or the backbone that have formed the project. They've been used to help understand how we have used our updates to make sure that we're aligned with those objectives. We'll go through an overview of the work completed. And then the sole purpose, again, just to go through the approach to the next community engagement round. So an understanding of the approach we're taking, and then those specific tactics that are being used to ensure that the community is informed on the project itself and the update, and that there's an opportunity for some feedback. And then we'll just close the presentation with some next steps. We'll kind of run through it all, and we're going to probably be kind of quick and brief, but we want to offer enough opportunity at the end for questions, as it's our understanding that some of these pieces have been included beforehand. So we want to make sure that there's enough time for discussion afterwards. So to start with, the guiding principles, an increase in flexibility. So ensuring that there are appropriate development regulations that are clear and allow some discretion. Simple, concise, and purposeful. So sort of moving away from that, well, this is how land use bylaws do it, this is how everyone does it, and moving more to understanding what the purpose is behind it and ensuring that it's written in a logical manner that makes sense. Also clear and easy to interpret. So using, being strategic with language, utilizing visual graphics, simple, clear maps to make sure that it's easy to read, and there are opportunities to use visuals to help explain some complex concepts. Visually pleasing and user-friendly. So formatting the information in a way that's easy to digest, easy to read. And then we've got a couple more. Enforceable. So again, having regulations that can be enforced, so they're clear and that's easy to enforce. Follows best practice. So that's following multiple different standards, regulatory frameworks, and the appropriate delegation of development authority. Reflecting the local context, that kind of goes back to the other comment just around considering regulations that really cater to what's needed in the town of Edson, especially since it's been a while since this has been updated. So it's a real opportunity to sort of understand what's going to work best for the community today. And then aligning with those higher order documents, as we know that this is sort of the regulatory tool to ensure that the town is able to act on their overall vision for development over time. So next we're going to go over an overview of the work. So it looks like a lot here, but I'll take us through this. We started off with some pretty extensive background analysis. A big part of that was staff interviews to really understand for those folks that are sort of using this day to day, what's working, what's not. That also included precedent research, so understanding what's out there and how other regulatory tools are used to address some of these concepts that are top of mind today. The first round of engagement was sort of taking stock and understanding from the community based on the guiding principles proposed, as well as what's top of mind or what's priority from the community's perspective. So that included some pop-up booths in the community, a survey, some targeted discussions with the business community, and a trade show booth. And then we also did, so between then and there, we sort of had an understanding of what we would call sort of the key topic areas from the community's perspective, those ones that sort of were rising to the top in terms of what the community felt was important or relevant to them. We used that to help structure our 50% draft, which was basically, focusing on some of those key areas and being able to demonstrate, okay, this is sort of our first approach at making updates that would better reflect what's needed today. And that included the pop-up booths in those sort of high traffic areas in town, the business community discussions, and then an information session at the rec center. And then there was a ton of work put together to sort of take all that we've had the opportunity to gather, so from the community, from all the background research, and start to really digest or dissect the land use bylaw and produce a draft. So that first draft was done in a Word document. So that's really focused on the regulations themselves. And then we've currently been working with administration with the actual visual document. So that includes those graphics that help explain the concepts, some visual examples of things like signage, and the document itself is clickable. So that's another function that we feel sort of in line with those guiding principles to help it be a bit easier to read. So I think Alex is going to walk us through a quick intro to the draft land use bylaw and then walk us through those engagement tactics.
Yeah, thanks, Becky, and thanks, Council, for hearing me. My name's Alex again. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. So, yeah, on your screen, you're seeing some screen grabs of the actual land use bylaw. We're trying to highlight, the functionality of it, the user friendliness, and the visually pleasing appearance of it. So on the screen, you can see that you can navigate through this center screenshot as the table of contents. You can click to directly link to the section of the bylaw that you want to get to. Once you're in the specific section, you can link back to multiple spots within the bylaw, just really easy to navigate and click. The purpose of the upcoming engagement is really just to go back to the community to share a project update. We really want to make sure that there's an opportunity to review the draft land use bylaw and relay that there's been a significant amount of effort put in to hear what was provided by the public. So there will be an opportunity for them to review based on what they provide in the second round of engagement. And additionally, they'll also be able to provide feedback based on the review and see how it relates to the guiding principles that were initially established. The objective of the engagement is to inform the public and to direct them to the website where there's a number of resources for them to review that we've strategically positioned so that they can review without feeling overwhelmed. And I'll speak to that shortly here. The community will be able to provide feedback on how the land use bylaw specifically aligns with the guiding principles that they were largely in part helped to develop.
Maybe Alex, just before you go on to the next one,
yep.
Just wanted to add, just to sort of sum up this next round, I think important to sort of add that it's a brand new bylaw. So in terms of being able to sort of go up to the public and say, here's exactly what's different, that's a challenge, and that's also really overwhelming. So I think the approach for this is really to center it around those key topic areas that they're familiar with engaging on previously in sessions, but also sort of giving them the opportunity to go as deep as they'd like with understanding what's different, or just getting a sense of, okay, we have a new land use bylaw. So you'll see Alex is going to go through sort of the varying levels of detail, but it's a lot. Like it's a brand new bylaw. There's a lot to go through. So I think just basically emphasizing that the approach of this one is really centered around those guiding principles, you know, as a marker of, okay, are we hitting the mark? Are there things we're missing? And then focusing around those key areas that they're familiar with. But yeah, Alex will run us through those specifics.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. Yeah, it can be definitely overwhelming for the public to be able to not only pick up a land use bylaw or look through it and but also to review it to make sure that points that they've illustrated in past engagement have been highlighted. So it was strategic to include a number of opportunities for the public to review beyond just the physical bylaw itself. So initially, it'll start with a website update, and that website update will have links to the online survey. It will also provide an opportunity for the public to review a what has changed document and also a video. And what we're envisioning is the public can be brought to the website. They can start by looking at this brief 1.5-minute video. There's an opportunity to go into more detail through the what has changed document that breaks into specific elements that, again, what we heard, key elements that Becky was referring to, and then they can provide feedback through the online survey. So that's kind of what we envisioned in terms of the sequencing and allowing multiple aspects for the public to review the bylaw. I'll share this video that's been prepared, and let me know if there's a challenge or if you're having trouble hearing it.
What can you build on a piece of land? The new Edson Land Use Bylaw is a tool designed to answer this question and will direct future growth and development while considering Edson's identity and future vision. We can all agree that a lot has changed since the 1990s, when the current Land Use Bylaw was first written. The town has been rewriting our Land Use Bylaw to better align with the Edson of today and tomorrow. We engaged with the community to learn what really matters to you, and to help us rewrite the bylaw through the eyes of the people who make Edson great. We heard that the land use bylaw needs to be user-friendly and easy to navigate. Our new land use bylaw is now interactive and has been simplified. Districts are being consolidated to provide clear and simplified direction for land uses, and will include more permitted uses. The new land use bylaw will have new provisions for secondary suites, signage, home businesses, and sea cans. At the Town of Edson, we're committed to building with our community. Learn more about the new land use bylaw at edson.ca/LUB.
Again, this is kind of the first opportunity for the public to really get a glimpse and a brief but a comprehensive overview of some of the main aspects that have been updated. And we really think that the video will do well at triggering some excitement and some interest in what specifically has changed. The visual aid of the video will really assist with the graphics and the clickability that we were referring to. The online survey, again, will provide the opportunity for the public to provide feedback in a manner that helps the town measure the project's success in aligning with the guiding principles. There's a number of questions that have been provided specifically to reference those guiding principles to really ensure that the public is able to to review what's been initially proposed and recommended by the public, and to align themselves with what's been changed in the bylaw. I'll just share the what has changed document here. Everyone can see that on my screen. Okay, great. So what has changed document? It was something that we wanted to provide that's visual. There's quite a bit of information on it, but we wanted to make sure that it can be navigated and explain the detail that's associated to a lot of the changes proposed. So this first page is dedicated to one of the major changes, the consolidation of residential and commercial industrial districts. We've summarized the detail as to why, but also how these changes have been made. So we tried to make it very visual by indicating the middle of the screen that shows the 16 existing residential districts and how they're consolidated to the new proposed districts. We've also included a link here at the bottom for those that are looking to identify what their property is designated as. That's a link to the map for Edson that can again identify the land use district. The next page is dedicated to some of those key items that the public expressed interest in to make sure the new land use bylaw addressed. So CCANs, secondary suites, home businesses, and parking regulations. And finally, the third page just speaks to, again, the functionality, the clickability, and the user friendliness of the bylaw. So again, it shows some of those elements of the clickability, and it then ties back to the link, bringing the public back to the website if they want to learn more, fill out the survey, or review the actual draft bylaw. Flip back to the PowerPoint now. Right. I'll let Becky speak about the next steps here.
So yeah, just before we get into a conversation about those engagement materials, and we'll be happy to pull any of those up as part of the conversation, we did want to reiterate sort of what the next couple of months look like moving forward. Again, I think trying to understand when the right time is to go out to the community, but looking at the next, around November to February, being able to actually complete the engagement, and then incorporating any necessary updates to the final land use bylaw, and then going through the formal approval process. So maybe we'll close here and open up the floor for any questions that council may have for us.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation here this evening and all your work on this. I think we've been at this for a year, maybe longer now. This has been long-standing update that we wanted to do. It's more than an update, as you mentioned. It's a brand new bylaw for our community. So there's been a lot of engagement, as you've pointed out. So, Council, do you have any questions or comments about the engagement plan for the land use bylaw rewrite project? Nobody has any questions?
I think we have a meeting coming up shortly.
Yeah, we will be having a little workshop to get more in depth with it. Councillor Byer, go ahead.
Through the chair to Becky and Alex. So I don't have a question, just a comment on a subject that's usually very, very dry and puts people to sleep. It looks really exciting. And I love that you can click and point and click, and it takes you to where you want to go. That when I was just playing with it on the agenda, I was really excited about that and, and looking forward to the public being able to access that in an easy way and find information, and as well as for our staff, because apparently right now the one we have is absolutely horrible. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Becky or Alex, with the delay, what is our completion date? Like, what is our estimated completion date of this?
Go ahead,
through
Becky.
the chair, to answer your question, I think, again, shooting for around February. I think an important moment right now in terms of the finalization of the bylaw and going to the community. I think timing wise, we want to make sure that we're not coming to the community at a point where they might be busy with things like the holidays. So wanting to make sure that if timing is right to go to the community in November, that makes sense. And also reserving enough time to make any updates to the bylaw before it goes through that final approval process. So I would say like the hope is early in the new year, but again, I don't know that we necessarily have a target date. I may refer to Mr. Kitlitz if he has any additional comments or thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. Yeah, that's pretty. I don't have anything really to add other than the fact that one of the other key things is when we go up for this engagement, we also want to be able to provide on the website an actual draft copy of the document so that folks can actually view it, click it, see how it functions. It's really important for that feedback as part of the survey. So, and the other thing is a map. One of the things I've learned about doing land use bylaws is people like to know, they want to go look at their property, find their property and see what the zoning is or what it was or what it's changed. So, and we're building that right now. So we want to make sure that that's available as well. So, and again, as Becky said, the timing. So my guess is towards the end of the Q1 of 2024 would be what we're shooting for bringing it for the approval, but fingers crossed.
Thank you very much. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Well, once again, thank you for your presentation. I know last time we talked about this, we were looking at when that engagement was going to be, and council said, well, we're not going to do it over the summertime because we know people are going to be busy, not paying attention. And I guess we had some other emergencies that came up as well. So I'm glad that we pushed it to the fall to give people an opportunity to review this. And I look forward to seeing how this progresses. It's been long-standing. I've heard nightmares of trying to get development going in Edson because of how clunky our current bylaw is, and it's a struggle for those looking to develop, it's a struggle for our staff, and it's struggling to grow our community. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and we've done a lot of engagement so far, and I'm glad to see that continue. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening.
Can I get a motion, please, that council authorize the mayor to sign the funding request letter to the Government of Alberta ministers on behalf of the town council in support of the Community Energy Association Northwest Alberta EV Charging Station Network project as set out in attachment 1. Councillor Chenard.
I'll make the motion.
All right. And you're speaking to this, Mr. Kitlitz?
Yeah, sure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Nothing, no big presentation. Just simply, Mr. Mayor, the Community Energy Association has been pursuing this for quite some time, and council's been supportive of this project historically. Right now, they're at the point where they have ATCO at the table, who's agreed to maintain and operate the facilities and contribute to 50% of the capital expenditures to build the network. The Community Energy Association is simply looking for member councils to advocate and help support to get provincial funding. So with council support, these will pass them along, and they will continue to advocate.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council authorize the mayor to sign the funding request letter to West Yellowhead MLA Long on behalf of the town council in support of the Community Energy Association Northwest Alberta EV Charging Station Network project as set out in attachment 2. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council authorize administration to pursue the Alberta Community Partnership Grant opportunity in partnership with the town of Devon? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. As noted in the request for decision this evening, we have the opportunity to participate in a granting application with the town of Devon. Just noting that the town of Devon has already passed this motion. They are the managing lead on this project, and the application, in that sense, was already submitted. At this point, if council were to determine they did not want to support, council was aware of this in advance, that would remove us from the application. So I'm just letting you know that this is, an important project, I think, for the town of Edson, in order to address some of the issues that we have been facing internally. One of the criticisms that we often see is that our information is not readily available, if you will. Our records management, is unfortunately not in a state that we are proud of, to be honest. And it's one of those situations whereby when we look at opportunities for an ability to move forward with a framework, in which this is what this project is a framework in creating, using software to help alleviate our issues with records management, essentially, with the forms that we have, everything as far as, just as the land use bylaw project, our focus is always trying to make things easier for our residents, easier for our business community to access. And one of the challenges is when we have the forms on our website, just an example, this is just a small piece of this project, is that we have several different versions of a grant or a form on our website, whether it's a PDF fillable form or a Word form or and essentially that goes to an individual or it goes to a team of individuals, gets distributed, and it's not the most effective and efficient use of time. So I'm using that as an example because we're faced with that each and every day in every area of this organization. What this grant, overall, what this would do would be to allow for the town of Edson to, if we're successful, to start with the records management piece. It also has an IT component, as mentioned, that would alleviate some of the issues that we have. And also, just in essence, is improve our public interface with residents on our websites as well. And it also creates this this process is essentially a workflow process internally where it essentially then files it for you. Essentially, it goes to the right individual. You're able to follow up with residents in a way, making sure that it's not just you're waiting for someone to be at their desk to be able to deal with the matter. We can all have access to be able to view these forms and these important documents essentially without having to manually find them at this point. So essentially, that's just a brief overview of the what, because it's not really explained in the RFD. But for this, if we're successful, it's a $200,000 grant. There would be no cost to the town of Edson. So if we were successful, we would receive the $100,000, and the component that we're looking for 2024, if successful, would be an $80,000. The software as well as the training and materials, and essentially at no cost at all to our taxpayers. So felt that it was a really good opportunity to take a look at. Obviously, if we're not successful, we would come back to council during the operating budget to determine what can work or if it can work. But to be fair, I've heard since I've been with this organization that records management and the time that it takes for residents to get a response back and our ability to have confidence in the records that we have is something we've been challenged by. And we've been looking for solutions as far as trying to find a better way. And from what we can see from this program, this is a great option for us to investigate.
Thank you, CO Beveridge. Council, do you have any questions about this program? Pretty self-explanatory. I just want to say I'm excited that we're partnering with a different municipality. Devon is very similar to Edson in terms of size and some of the challenges we face. So it's great to see that partnership. And, if we can get some grant funds to help address this issue, I think that would be hugely beneficial. So, council, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. We have no information items, no. We'll start with Councillor Bevan. Go ahead.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. And we will go to Councillor Chouinard.
Okay, come on. October 1st, I had my Chamber of Commerce meeting, which was my last one for the rotation, but it is important to announce this being Small Business Week. This Friday at 6 p.m. at the Galloway Museum is their awards gala. This is going to be the first live one they've had in several years. There is tickets at the door, $10 each, and refreshments. So I encourage people to get advance tickets, or you can buy them at the door. So that's October 10th. October 11th, I attended the Fire Hall Open House. October 14th was our budget workshop that we had, and I'm going to do a shout out because it's huge. Afterwards, we all went to Warehouse's 40th anniversary. October 16th, which was last night, we did our economical development last night. And this morning, I had the privilege of having breakfast served by Community Futures. They were doing their business information, and it was directed towards our emergency management. That's why I'm doing a shout out on that. It was telling businesses to get prepared, insurance and awareness. So I attended that as well. And on the 10th of October, I believe, was the COW meeting. I attended that as well. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Chouinard, and we will go to Councillor Byer.
Thanks. On October 4th, through Community Futures West Yellowhead, I was invited to participate in a virtual business support network, which is fostering disaster resilience webinar, and I did send council a lot of that information already. Just a quick highlight. The fires in Fort Mac cost $9.9 billion in damage, and only about $4 billion was insurable, so that's less than half, which is not good news for anybody. 1 in 4 businesses don't reopen after a disaster. The mental health and organizations and businesses, they can see a full turnover of staff following a disaster within 3 years. So that's some pretty scary stuff. Pretty scary stuff to see that kind of turnover. And that they do offer a 1-day session to offer that kind of training in your community. And I know I did attend it last year with a few others. Last term. And it was just emergency management training. So it was really good information, and that's available should we desire to go down that route. But yeah, I did send the other highlights to council after this session. And then on October 10th, I had the Committee of the Whole meeting. October 14th, the Council Budget Workshop. And also on the 14th, the Warehouser 40th Anniversary Celebration. And on the 16th, yesterday, I attended the Economic Development Strategy Workshop, which was really fantastic. So looking forward to more news on that.
All right, thank you, Councillor Byer. And we will go to Councillor Moore.
Thank you very much. On Saturday, I had the privilege of attending the Weyerhaeuser Open House, and that was quite the celebration. One of our lead employers in town and area, and as well, I imagine over the years they've had multi-generational family employees over there. October 16th, I attended the Economic Development Strategy meeting right here in Council Chambers, and that's all I have.
And I think you missed the budget meeting on the 14th as well.
Oh yes, the budget meeting.
Yes.
Very important.
And the COW meeting on the 10th.
Right on paper.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I had our Committee of the Whole on the 10th, the budget on the 14th, along with Warehouser's 40th. On the 16th, I had the Youth Council meeting, followed by the Economic Workshop. And that is my report.
Thank you. I attended the Community Futures Economic Roundtable on October 5th, where Mayor Williams and I presented on the emergencies. On October 6th, I met with MLA Long about a number of the advocacy points this council is advocating for, including healthcare, the condition of Highway 16, and various other challenges. October 10th, the Committee of the Whole meeting. October the 11th, Mayor Williams and I got together to discuss various issues. October 14th, the budget meeting, as well as the Warehouser celebration, which was fantastic. 40 years in our community. That was a mill that was operating in the lowest points of the forestry sector. They kept that mill going. And OSB from the mill is being shipped to international markets. So really great to see. Great to see a lot of long-term employees there as well. And then on October 16th, had the Economic Development Strategy Workshop with Deloitte. And that was, I think, very well done as well. So we have no financial items. Questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting? Welcome, Joanne.
On the presentation by Mr. Kitlitz about the design and tree removal for Township Road 532, the very first slide, the first diagram that has the that had the big purple industrial area. I don't know if he's still on or not. I'd like to know, there was some big black arrows that showed a direction that showed going eastbound on 532, and there was some arrows southbound on there too. Were those not on Golf Course Road? Not on the 54th Street?
I don't have that map in my package. Of something during Mr. Kitlitz's presentation, but I do believe it did come through down Golf Course Road, across what is 542, and then all the way to Wilmore Park Road, and that was a part of the land use area structure plan for that area. Councillor Pasichny?
Yeah, through the mayor, through Joanne. The original drawing he showed you is that the town years ago asked the province to gazette the lands for the highway bypass, and when you plan for a no at grade crossing freeway, you have to have intersecting roads that will connect to other roads. So it was just showing the map of how you would flow and where you would direct traffics in different directions. So it was just showing that plan would show that road having to be built or roads having to be built. So he's just trying to show that there's a bigger plan than just what we have today.
Okay, I was just making sure that it wasn't, the black arrows were not on 54th Street. They were definitely on the Golf Course Road.
Yeah, because that whole drawing
plan.
goes in and out of the county, in and out of the town, and it was, we can get you that, there's a whole document on that if you'd like clear
I think
document.
I've seen it. I just have to research it some more. Thanks. My one other question I have is, shouldn't a fire guard, through Mr. Mayor, sorry, shouldn't a fire guard be on the south side of the landfill before it hits the fuel of the landfill?
So I think, obviously, the road allowance that you've seen there, that's in town property. I think if you go further south, we're now into the county area. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Kilitz, but I think that the border of the landfill is in the county, right? So it's not for us to, it's not our jurisdiction to clear that. We can't clear that because it's not in our municipality. So having that there will create a fire break as well as, of course, the road allowance.
Aren't there trees on the south side of the landfill, though, that should be cleared for fire break? Would be more effective?
Councillor Pasichny.
Through her, Joanne. Sorry, the motion was to go to the south of our property or to our boundary for sure. And the fuels inside the landfill, yes, it is flammable, but it's not the same kind of fuels as a forest. So a fire wouldn't rip through a landfill like it would rip through the forest.
Oh, we've seen it rip through the landfill.
So, but it'll, the whole thing is to get the trees. We have a limited amount of property in the county, which we'd be able to remove the trees off of. Outside of that, you're talking either crown land or privately held land. So we can only remove trees off of what is ours. So that, to me, they're to bring it back to us. And we should go right to our property line, just remove every tree we have around the landfill.
Right to the south property line? You're saying to the south property line?
Yeah. They have
And to the, as far
we have a
east as
quarter
you can go?
section.
Or, yeah, as far
We
as
have two
east.
quarter sections there, so.
So is that kind of the plan or not?
We don't have a plan. No, I'm asking for a plan. 'Cause
Okay.
I thought there was, part of the money was included in that, so that's why we had a secondary motion to come back with a plan to us.
Okay.
So by making it a motion at our table, the administration has to bring it back to us.
All right.
So that definitely, to me, all the trees we have there should be removed. Because when you look at the fire path and pattern we had, if it didn't hit that one patch of low fuels, it was coming into town. So,
Yes, it was.
And a road allowance is a fire break for a slow moving fire, but not for a rip roaring fire. So a good quarter section of land. And if you look in the county, everywhere they hit quarter sections that were bare is where the fire didn't travel. It traveled across the grasses, but it didn't have the same kind of power you'd have from a canopy fire. So
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
And just, Joanne, on the emergency preparedness piece, I think you're gonna see us talking a lot more about that over the next while. I think we've learned a lot from what happened this spring, and I think just a couple meetings ago, we applied for that Fire Smart grant, and so you're gonna see us talking a lot more about things that you mentioned there today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting? Mr. Martineau?
I have a question. Oh, what am I supposed to do here?
Oh, you're on. Oh, there you go.
It sounds like it's been decided already that this is going through. Is this true? I'm concerned as to what are we gaining by going over all the way to Wilmore Park Road from 54th Street? What are we gaining? Who is gaining this? You said it's for future development? To whom? How many property owners along there?
So obviously, there's a private landowner.
Okay, who?
Well, yourself.
Myself and
Yeah.
one more, I think. So there's two
Yep.
people.
I don't even know who owns that land.
Two people are going to benefit from this?
Well, Mr. Martineau, I know that we've had a lot of discussions about access on Landfill Road, right? For emergency, and this will create that another access point out of that area. So that is the main driving force behind this.
When you get to Wilmore Park Road and you get another train there, there's like 200, not even 200, there's 100 meters between there and Highway 16. I pretty much got told that I was full of crap about all the stuff that happens that it can't be. So I video, I tape record, I have pictures, I've sat there, I've sent all kinds of stuff to Transport Canada, who has helped us tremendously.
I understand. Do you have a question?
Pardon me?
This is question period, so do you have a question? Sorry.
I guess that's it then.
I certainly understand your concerns because you've shared them quite
My
frequently.
concern is, what are we benefiting by going to Wilmore Park Road?
You're benefiting because there's going to be a secondary access
To where?
to either Wilmore or you can travel to Ansel. So it's better than what is there now, which is nothing for leaving that area. So this is, as was pointed out, this isn't the perfect solution. We still want to look to go to the east. But once again, we don't own all the land. We don't have the road allowance all the way to golf course roads. We have to work with our partners. Obviously, that has always been a desire, I think, from the community and from the area to go that way. But until this point, we haven't had that opportunity. Now with Pivotal there, with a big development, we're going to have that opportunity to look at that and pursue that further.
Can I have another question? Who's going to pay for this road? Is it the taxpayers?
It's going to be contributed through the town of Edson, as well as Pivotal has agreed to contribute to it.
Okay, has anybody gotten a price on this? The bridge alone, which is not, I think it was Mr. Kitlitz was saying he wasn't sure. You can't even permit across that bridge right now. Again, I have pictures, everything of where the bridge is washed out. There's great big holes in it. It cannot sustain the traffic. It's going across it
So
now.
the bridge has been identified as a part of a project as for flood repairs. As for the cost of the road building to Wilmore Park Road, that is part of the plan here to develop that plan, to clear the trees and to come up with a plan on the actual cost of building that road from Landfill Road to Wilmore Park. And go ahead, Councillor Pizzicini.
Further to that too, if we have to rebuild that bridge, you would lose access to your property and we'd lose access to the landfill and the residents in the county would lose access to their home.
Okay, as it sits now, we don't have to rebuild the bridge.
It could occur, right? So
Why?
the landfill's still operating, we still have heavy trucks going over it.
It's sustainable now, but when you start putting tractor trailers on with 38 cubes of fluid on,
Yeah, I don't believe if I further may misread, I don't believe the intent is that the access point is, it's twofold for access to the properties, right? If there's a train and something is happening at any one of those major sites and you had to leave, right now you have one route out. By building another road, you have another, not ideal, but you're driving away from your property in particular. You'd be driving away outside the landfill, you'd be driving away from all the industry. So you'd be, if there was a large fire or a large leak, you'd be driving away from it because you'd have somewhere you could go. If we had another one of our rain events and somehow or way it takes out one of the footings of the bridge, you would not have access to your property. Without Pivotal, we wouldn't even be looking at a road. And that's always been a risk that yourself and the others that live on that side and the businesses that are on that side and our landfill that's on that side, it's always been a risk on that side of that bridge. Ideally the entire road, to go to the east, there's other challenges to the east. It's counties. We'd have to get them on board. So now we have dealing with a community partner. There's a bridge. Now you're dealing with another level of bureaucracy with Departments of Fisheries and Oceans on that bridge. So there's a lot of other challenges. And with just that road, we know that the county has said that they would oppose it based on their residents on Golf Course Road. So we only have one option to put any kind of a permanent road in, and that's why we're looking at it. And we know it's not ideal. We know everybody has given us their concerns. And I wish there was a silver bullet, but we need to get access to that property, that area. And we don't really want our new taxpayer to waste a bunch of money on a temporary road to make us happy. So the idea is let's put that money towards a good road or a upgraded road, a road that can actually have value and in the future. Because if you think about it, it may even help that bridge, because if you're hauling to our landfill and you're on Highway 16 and there's no train, you zip across, you cut in that way, they may take pressure off of that bridge. So there's a lot of other advantages to that road that if you want to look at the big picture, the access to that road is closer to 16 than they may not have to drive into town with it. So there's lots of other things that you can look at it if we want to look at it from a positive. I know I could sit here and argue, and I've argued to our council when we were discussing this before, is that I could argue against this road too. It's easy to do. I could sit here and pick it apart to be the high heavens. Easy for us to pick apart. But at the end of the day, we have to come up with a solution to ensure that this new taxpayer can come to town and build this facility to help lessen the burden on all the taxpayers. So sometimes we have to spend taxpayers' money to do that, and that's what we're looking at doing. And right now, what we voted on today is we're going to spend some money to get a design to see the costs and to get it narrowed down to what we're looking at with that. If it comes back at an astronomical amount, I know some people have a pretty good idea what that may cost, and I have a pretty good guess. If I was to use county numbers, when they looked at the full 2 miles years ago through Swamp, it was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was about $4 million. Could be a decade ago, so that's going to be probably $6 million today if you did the full 2 miles. So we're probably looking at $3 million, right? So that's probably a conservative number. I'm making this up, but I'm trying to just guess, right? It's my best guesstimate. So it is a challenge. We absolutely understand the concerns. But at the end of the day, we gotta get this moving. And when I look at the pros of this road, I could argue against the pros, but the pros of this road is it will take some burden off of that bridge and off of that road and off of that crossing in town. And yes, it's not ideal when you're trying to avoid a train, and we get that because you're going to another crossing, and if your crossing is blocked, there's a good chance that crossing is blocked because they're very close together. When you're building trains, they're going to block both crossings. I wouldn't even try to argue that. Nope. I just know that if in the event of an emergency and you had to get out of there, you could head towards Wilmer and head towards Ansel and get the heck out away from the area. And that's part of our goal. And we don't have to beg our partner to let us build the road. We don't have to ask anybody to build that road. We can just build that road and get it done. So that's why administration has looked that way and why we're looking at supporting it.
Yeah, this is going to be astronomical. You said like $4 to whatever million. The bridge alone is going to be over $2 million. I checked with a guy yesterday.
If we were to go to the east?
No, the bridge that's existing there. To be compatible. That's
Okay.
what you guys are after.
Yeah, but we're not looking at the bridge replacement right now. We're looking at a road in case we had to replace the bridge. So the bridge is not on our radar right now. And this isn't a secondary access for it's not a secondary access. Like, it's a secondary access to the site, but I don't know if I don't believe that's on our radar right now for replacing that bridge after we build the road.
I guess back to my main question. I don't understand the reasoning for going that way, for what it's going to cost and what we're going to gain. We're going to get to the other end and wait for another train. I'm sorry.
We're not going to get into debate about it. You've made your point about it.
You
So
bet. That's it.
appreciate that. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martineau. Anybody else have any other further questions about items from this council meeting?
Hi, my name is Charles Wells. To the chair, through you to council. Just had a couple questions, I guess. Well, about 3 questions, I guess. First 2 relate to the ATCO franchise fee. Now, my understanding from the last meeting, that Mr. Positioney explained to us that the ATCO franchise fee is to recoup tax money that would be paid by other entities that don't pay taxes. So is the franchise fee from ATCO strictly for ATCO taxes, or does it extend to other entities besides ATCO?
I can answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so your franchise fees are essentially, the best way to describe it is ATCO has pipelines all through our community, and they have right-of-ways all through our community, and they don't pay assessment on that. So that on their utilities. So the franchise fees is based on, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's only on their utilities within our community.
Okay, so the right-of-ways are on town of Edson property, is what you're saying?
Yes, so most cases, most right-of-ways are on public lands, yes.
Okay, so is there any idea how the franchise fee relates to what the taxes would be in lieu of those properties? Or is it just sort of a made-up number that relates accurately to how much taxes they would be paying, and so, or has that ever been assessed? Like, would it be lower if we actually looked at what they would owe in taxes, so that the franchise fee could be lowered to reflect what the actual payment is for, as opposed to just a number pulled out of thin air?
To be honest, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I guess the other one was to Pivotal. A couple things. First one, this isn't really a question, but and my apologies to you and through you to council. There seem to be the terms road allowance and road plan being thrown about a little bit willy-nilly, in my opinion. So are we talking about road allowances, or are we talking about road plans, or both? And which ones are which? I think because people should have an idea which are road plans and which are road allowances, because they are different.
So I think what we're talking about when it comes to Pivotal right now, we have a road allowance there, and we're developing a road plan for that road allowance.
Well, you don't need a road plan on a road allowance. A road allowance is already set out by the original survey that was done. Road plan is something where you bought land and you created a road plan on land that was formerly private, as opposed to road allowance, which is like referred to as government road allowances. So there's a difference. So like road allowances are very difficult to close, but road plans can be closed. So I just wanted to know which parts are specifically on road plans, which ones are on road allowances.
Go ahead, Councillor Positioning.
Yeah, I'll apologize if I'm throwing around the wrong terminology, but it's a original cross-section road allowance. So the provincially built, that's where you run into crossing problems, like 54th Street's not actual, I'm screwing the term, the road allowance.
Yes.
It's a road plan.
Yes.
Right? When we have a road allowance, we have more power with CN on a road allowance crossing because it's a road allowance. This is actually, if you look at our drawings, it's labeled as a roadway. So it's an original, when they laid out the west.
Okay.
It's been there since Edson's been there, essentially.
And again, with the terms roadway might not be the best term to be using on the plan.
Yeah, and my apologies because
Okay, so we're not going to get into back and forth here.
No,
so,
I'm just suggesting that,
Okay.
Just a clarification thing. But really, I guess my question about Pivotal was the development permit process. And is this a staged development permit? Has it received approval? And if it has received approval, why wasn't the emergency access hashed out prior to approval?
It has been approved, and part of their development approval is to have an access. And we are working with them to provide that access. So when they are operational, they have that secondary access, which is what we approved here today to look at that plan.
Is that consistent with the land use bylaw? To have a provisional access prior to the approval of the permit?
Yes.
And that's all I had.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dale Bowman. I live down the Wilmore Park Road. I have questions for you on the Highway 16 access. So if this road goes through and the amount of truck traffic that's going to be going, is there a traffic impact assessment going to be done for crossing the highway? And the reason I bring this up is just we've had a lot of traffic from Cascade and other high volume events during holiday weekends. To get across with the amount of heavy equipment coming across now can be a bit entertaining. I'm worried about larger B-terrain trucks and how badly the backup could be that it's the same as what the golf course road goes through now.
So a traffic impact assessment was done at 54th Street because that's going to be the primary access into there. As per Pivotal's presentations when they developed, they plan on going through 54th Street. That's always been the plan. As for access off of Wilmore, if they come across Wilmore, they're not going to be going like towards your place. They're going to be crossing way sooner than that. I'm not sure if there is going to be a traffic impact assessment on that or not, because the development permit was based on the 54th Street crossing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Question 2, so on the Wilmore Park Road where this new road is going to intersect with, is there going to be turning lanes or widening for when these large trucks, because what we see now is any truck having to come up to the high grade of that road is having to swing pretty wide and take a run at it usually. So there's not a lot of stopping happening on the hill when people are having to try to come up to it from the, I guess, the east side. And so my question is when trucks are coming on this new road that you guys have, is it going to be wide enough when they do enter onto the laneway that they're not going to be impeding oncoming traffic?
So I think what we've passed here today is to develop that plan, to understand exactly what widths are needed, what that road is going to look like. So before that road gets built, it will be coming back to council for approval through our budgetary processes. So what we've authorized here today is for administration to proceed with that plan.
Okay. Will a person be able to get, I guess, a little bit more notification? Being from the county, we're kind of separate from you guys, but this does impact us quite a bit on how we access on Highway 16, that a guy would be able to get a little bit advance notice of when this type of discussions.
If you would like to leave your information, we can pass it on to our planning department.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, you can leave it with Christine.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Or Amanda, sorry, leave it with Amanda. Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Hello, through the chair. Wondering if the emergency access in the development permit for Pivotal is for Pivotal or for everyone?
So are you talking about the original plan?
I'm talking about what they have to satisfy you with. If they have to just emergency access themselves?
No, so the emergency access is for themselves as well as I believe the desire here is for the community as a whole in that area.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not an emergency access just for them. 'Cause to my understanding, their temporary emergency access was just for them. Am I understanding that correct?
I can't speak to that. I don't have the details of the development permit in front of me.
Okay, because it would be a lot cheaper for taxpayers if we go down the sewer line, because to just access them would be, we're only doing a half a mile instead of a mile of muskeg. So if the emergency access, how it reads in their development permit, which I don't know, is just for them, if it just has to benefit them, and they're contributing from their, not doing it temporary and just gonna contribute to that, that would be a lot cheaper for taxpayers and for them to do that at a half a mile of muskeg down the pipeline where the sewer line is. So you guys just okayed something and you're not even knowing what the actual obligation is. So I've talked to a few of you councillors here. I'm wondering how many people phoned and contacted you with wanting this done, the way you guys are doing it.
I've had 2 letters on this.
In a positive, please get it done, that's what they're wanting, or is it in a negative, do not do this until we can do more planning?
So I think the point here that is getting missed is that for long-standing, since I've been mayor, people wanted another access out of that area.
Yes.
Is that true?
Very clear.
So what we're doing is we are providing a second access.
Okay.
Out of that area. Whether or not Pivotal has the emergency access, if the emergency access is just for them, then that doesn't help our residents at all if something happens out there, right?
Exactly right. So I'm in contact with them, so I want to make sure, because they have a lot of power. Because at $1 million tax is probably what they'll pay us a year for taxes, which is 1/19 of the taxes that are paid to this town. They have a lot of power. So, and we all want this. So there was no prior planning to this, to my understanding. My understanding is they had their plans in for their site by January, and now we're at the end of where they gotta be, coming on winter, and we have to provide an access, which to my understanding, they are providing money. They are not doing it. Is that correct?
They're providing money for us to proceed with building that road, yes.
Okay, yes. So we've all, I think, agreed on here, it's the way it sounded, is this is not the perfect plan for sure.
No.
So we're gonna spend $3 to $4 million.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but this is a question,
I'm asking
right?
a question.
Yeah, okay.
$3 to $4 million for not the perfect plan. Why are we wasting $3 to $4 million, which they'll probably contribute $1 million or $1.2 million, so we're down to maybe $3 to $2.5 million of taxpayers' money for not the perfect plan. And there has been request for an access there for, I know, 35 years for sure, and we have no plan. Now we have an emergency because we want $1 million from our new business coming into town for tax base, and now we're in a panic because there is not one plan. I'm asking why there's no plan. Now we're jumping to an emergency, not building the proper, not adequate, not helping a whole bunch for $2.5 million of taxpayers' money.
Well, we don't have the final number yet, so that's going to come back. And if it's astronomical, then we're going to have to make some decisions. This is not an emergency road that we're building. This is a permanent road for the area. No matter which way we go, it's going to be millions of dollars, right?
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But why would we not do the perfect plan if we're spending millions of dollars?
Because we cannot afford to do the perfect plan unless Pivotal is operating. As Councillor Pasicny pointed out in his comments, this has not been on our capital plan. This has not been discussed to do anything in that area because there is no development. Now we have a developer that is going to be contributing big tax dollars to this community, and I think we all appreciate that. And they're coming to the table and saying, instead of us throwing away hundreds of thousands of dollars on a temporary road, let's partner together and get a permanent access. This does not stop us from going the other way, which I think is the desired route for most area residents. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I know what my preference is, but that's not everybody's.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm trying to say here is there's no perfect solution. Somebody's going to be upset somewhere. People on Golf Course Road are going to be upset if there's increased traffic. We are hampered because we do have a rail line that does have blockages that people can't access on the south side of our community. So I think what you're seeing here is our council responding to what has been a long-standing issue of no other access. This is another access. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, because we still have the railway issue. But if we go the other way, we have issues with an intersection that's incredibly dangerous. We have to work with our partners. We have to look at the traffic volumes on there, and those residents are not going to be happy with that. To me, what we decided here today is the first step in one section of the solution. There's also another section which is going to the east, but that's going to take us additional time. You know the comments about the bridge and that sort of thing. Now we're going to have to build another bridge. We don't have to build a bridge to the east side or to the west side. Sorry. So I'm a little confused because I've heard all along that we want another access out that way. So we're providing other access, and now everybody's upset that we're actually making progress on something. Yes, it'd be great if there was a plan 20 years ago to have this all done already, right? But there isn't, because there hasn't been the development and there hasn't been the revenue generated to help pay for that. You know, my commitment to you is, yeah, we do want to look to go to the east as well, because I don't think one direction either way is the perfect solution. I think it all tied together is the perfect solution that gives people all sorts of different options, depending on the situation that may arise in that area.
So is it possible for this $150,000 to do the study going on the sewer, across on the sewer right away, and on across to the, so we do both, so we have something as an option as another way? The reason being, what bothers me is when Pivotal first came, before anything was happening, we were all in the Holiday Inn, Pivotal, all the landowners, and 3 people from the town administration. And it was then that everybody agreed, not the administration, they didn't say anything, but everybody there agreed that that was the worst situation, was going to the west. Everybody agreed that. Everybody that was there, Pivotal and all the landowners that were there. And what does the town come up with is that, exactly what nobody wants. And like I told the councillors, and what you're doing exactly is throwing it in our face saying, we're giving you one and now you're not happy with it. And we knew that, we've all discussed it, that this is what's gonna happen. So taxpayers just keep paying. And I asked the councillors here, did I not to vote against it till we could get in a round circle and everybody talk about this so that we could all understand all the stuff. And I see nobody wants to go and discuss it the way they do. So everybody here I know, because I chatted, is against it, and our councillors all went for it because you think you know better. And I think in the agreement, which I read from Pivotal, is its stakeholders, the town, and stakeholders, town, and Pivotal will have to be in agreement for what they're going to give money for. So if the stakeholders aren't happy, Pivotal's not given the money. And administration has gone directly against what everybody in that meeting wanted. So how are we going to solve this?
So nothing's getting built, Pivotal's not operating. I'm going to be very clear right now. I'm also going to be very clear that, yeah, sewer line, that's a temporary, that was proposed as a temporary emergency access. That is not a road allowance. So we cannot build a permanent road over top of that, unless we go through the process of trying to create a road allowance and all those sorts of things.
A road plan, I think a road plan. We just went through that with Charles.
So I've given you the opportunity to ask your questions. We understand your position on this.
I am asking questions, and then you guys give no answers.
I am giving you an answer, and you want to be argumentative. So, you know, I know you're not happy. It's very clear about that.
So then why won't everybody get together and discuss it so that everybody can come out a little bit happy? Why does this happen every time we come to the town? Since I've been coming to the town, we've been coming to the town since Pivotal started this thing, the biggest crowds have been about the access over there. And again, we have the biggest crowd here again. And you went against what everyone here that voted you in wants.
So you want, what do you want, Brian?
I would like, and I asked the councillors, I talked to them about this, that we should get together, administration, council, and all the stakeholders and Pivotal, and figure out a solution. And it never happens. It never is asked for. We're never even talked about. I have to get the information when Pivotal phones me. It says, you guys need to look into this. This is what your town's wanting to do. And they're not happy with it either, because they don't like spending bad money and making everybody upset.
We have discussed this here in open council tonight. This is the only solution the town has to do it within our boundaries.
Okay, so the town administration, is that the town administration that's their only way?
It is the municipality as a whole.
So we are the town. Us taxpayers are
Yeah.
the town. And
Listen,
we haven't been consulted, so
okay,
that's
we're gonna-
why we would like to get together with you, all of you.
So Brian, if it's okay, I'm gonna just recess this meeting so we can have a discussion, because this is actually question period, not debate
I
period.
keep asking a question and you guys won't answer it.
Okay, so I'm gonna call a recess for 10 minutes, and we're gonna have a discussion about this. Thank you. Can I get a motion to go into the close?
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, can somebody please make a motion to extend the meeting? Thought I'd be home by now. Councillor Byer.
I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting past 10 o'clock.
All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion to go into the closed meeting session? Sorry, what?
I was gonna make a motion to vote against it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Chenard, make that motion. All those in favor? That motion's carried. All right, thank you, everyone. Councillor Chenard, do you like to make a motion?
Motion for adjournment.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. All those in favor? Motion carried.